I'm Jennifer from Unveiled Wife, and today we have Stephanie with us who's going to share just a little bit about her life and what Wife After God has done for her. So, hi, Stephanie.
Hello, Jennifer. Hi, everybody else.
We are so excited to just have you with us here today. So, can you just share with the community a little bit about who you are?
Right. So my name is Stephanie. I am from Richmond, Virginia. I'm a nurse, and I've been married for about 16 months. And so I was telling somebody the other day that we're kind of like toddlers. And so we're certainly learning a lot. And we're just open to the input of others and, want to be successful. And so, we're glad that we came upon Wife After God, because it certainly has changed the woman that I am, not only as a wife, but as a friend. We don't have any children yet, but I'm sure will impact how I am a mother as well going forward.
Well, congratulations on getting married, and I'm just excited for what you and your husband have ahead of you to experience. This is great.
Yes, it is.
Well, today I want to talk specifically about chapter 26, and it's about hiding from God. And can you just share maybe one thing that really stood out to you about this chapter?
Right. When I read the chapter, I had a little bit of difficulty kind of reading through it because I was like, oh, I really don't want to address these things. I was hoping to continue to hide from God. And so when it was kind of pointed out that this is something that you really need to address and work on, Stephanie, I was kind of like, oh, I just had to put the book down and then come back to it later. And so what really stuck out to me was that is exactly what I was doing. There were definitely plenty of things that I wasn't willing to repent for, because in my mind I'm thinking it's really not that bad of a sin. It's not one of those big commandments or anything like that. And so there was things that I was just continuing to sweep under the rug rather than really addressing and letting God heal it.
I thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing this with us, because so many of us can relate to that, shutting the book or shutting anything that's asking us to reveal ourselves. And so often we do hide, we hide from God, we hide from our spouse, and we justify that hiding. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that, our flesh wants to hide?
Right. Good question. And that's something that I had to address and get into the book. Like, why am I not wanting to get through this chapter? And I found that it was easier for me to not acknowledge it than to acknowledge it and let God heal it. Because I knew through that would come pain, because I've swept it under the rug and I've hid it so deep with shame that in order to unpack all that was on top of it, God would really have to dig pretty deep in order to get to the source or the root of the problem. And I was not really ready to really dive into that and allow God to chisel away or till the ground that thing was hidden under. Mm-hmm.
So can you describe a little bit to us what that process was like after the fact, after bringing everything out into hiding, and what, God did with that?
Right. Good question. So I guess afterwards I was kind of like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And so I was relieved, but at the same time I was thinking to myself, why did I let it get this far? And so just small things like why, as far as my heart, why would I try to manipulate the situation to yield the results that I want? And so I think that was one of the main things. And then even on chapter 13 with pride, and just really kind of continuing to dive through that, I think that was what I was specifically working on. And so I wanted to justify it and, say that it wasn't that bad. And looking back on it, I was like, oh, I'm so glad that I've actually been able to move forward from that and acknowledge that as a problem. So as soon as I see it again, I'm going to nip it in the bud before it becomes a big problem. So I was just relieved that it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it was going to, or the process didn't take as long as I thought it was. And I thought it was really going to debilitate different things within my life, within our marriage. Just being vulnerable. A lot of times people want to see the nice outward appearance. And then when God is like, I want to see the seams, and I want to see the buttons, and I want to see the threads that are running. I just didn't want to be that vulnerable. And so God was like, but I love you. And so he just kept reassuring me along the way of how much that he really loved me and wanted me to be made whole.
That's so beautiful. And I think that, the women listening right now are just going to be so encouraged to go through this chapter, because they're going to hear what happened with you, and they're going to want that. So thank you for sharing that. What do you think, what kind of damage can occur from hiding, our sin or our suffering, and how would that affect marriage?
Right. That is a really good question. Obviously, like I was explaining, I am a toddler in marriage, so I guess I don't know all of the ramifications that could have come had I not addressed
Right.
things as soon as I have.
Hmm.
But even coming into marriage and realizing there were things that I didn't address while I was yet single. And so now bringing that into our marriage and having to deal with those things now, I think it could damage other things had we had children. I'm sure that that's how I would have raised my daughter or raised my son. So they would have been mimicking me. And so because I wasn't mature enough, I could see how that could have damaged other people. And so now looking back, I'm able to see, okay, Stephanie, you really need to grow from this and, be transparent any opportunity that you can get so that other people can really learn from your mistakes or stand on your shoulders and be successful.
Yeah, I know that for me, it was a process of about 3 years that God really took me through from the beginning of when I got married to understanding this, of understanding how to be transparent with God and how to have an intimate relationship with Him,
Right.
and Him dragging stuff into the light and causing me to have to confront issues about myself and my own character. And that was really hard. And like you said, it was painful. But I know that it was damaging my marriage. So I do have the experience of just those 3 years of it. It really it caused me and my husband to question, separation and divorce. And that is just something that I'm sharing to hopefully encourage women who are listening right now, that it doesn't matter where you are, 16 months into marriage, 7 years into marriage, 20 years into marriage. If you are hiding stuff, it is going to it's going to affect your marriage and your relationship with your husband and how intimate you can be with him and with God. So
Mhm.
hopefully, that just helps you as you go through this chapter, chapter 26 in Wife After God too. So in what ways has God helped you bring your stuff into the light and walk you through, the process of healing or transformation?
Right. I would say that he has definitely allowed me to just know him really as a comforter. So in those times where I was just like, no, God, I don't want to, I refuse, and I'm really rebelling, he's just like, no, come on, Steph, you can do it. And just kind of like with just one instruction. Okay, well, I want you to write this in your journal. There were things I didn't even want to write in my journal because then that was me acknowledging it as an issue that I needed to address. So I just tried to act like I didn't recall that, or, God would bring things back to my remembrance through a memory or through something that somebody else would say or through something somebody else was dealing with. And I'm like, oh, I still haven't dealt with that. So I think the first steps for me were to write it in my journal and just kind of see it in words and be able to kind of walk through it and see how God was continuing to heal me. And through that, my relationship I was like, okay, God, each step, he just kept being a comforter. He kept guiding me. The Holy Spirit kept really guiding me into all truth and kind of showing me how I can really address this step by step.
Thank you so much for sharing your testimony of this, specifically this issue. Is there one thing that God's been teaching you lately about being a wife or just in life in general that you could share with the community?
Right. I would definitely say walking by faith and not by sight. Because a lot of times things walking through, Wife After God, I was expecting this radical change and, things would never be the same. And I'm not really seeing that just yet, but I know that by faith, there's things that I've declared, that I've decreed, that I've written out, that I am really believing God for, and I'm walking by faith as if those things have already happened rather than waiting for the manifestation. So just being thankful all along the way, continuing to give the benefit of the doubt and continuing to give grace. That's something that I definitely learned through this book as well. Just really extending that grace. And then even though I want to not extend any more grace because I've already extended enough, God is like, extend more. And so just seeing how we are really living out God's love story in our marriage has really prompted me to go the extra mile and try to do more, because I know that I really do want God to, say, well done, my good and faithful servant. So definitely walking by faith and not by sight is what I am encouraged to do, most specifically right now.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for just, again, unveiling yourself to us today and sharing just your wisdom with us. And I know that you said you've only been married 16 months, but you really do have, God's wisdom pouring into you. And I hope that you can continue to grow as a wife. And I'm praying for you and your husband that you guys just embrace marriage is a journey, you know, because there are going to be different seasons that you guys go through, and I'm excited for you. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, so thank you so much for this interview, and yeah, I'm just going to be praying that you guys are blessed.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.